Please do not intend to try this. The content of this video is solely based on past human experiences and may vary according to a person's physical or mental state at a specific moment. All the information shared are merely for educational and entertainment purposes only.
So, a lightning storm is one of Earth's few natural phenomena that fascinates most. But as intimidating as it seems, lightning storms can also be extremely dangerous and deadly. It is reported that globally, on average, there have been roughly about 240,000 lightning strike incidents each year. But despite the huge number, there were only 2,000 actual reported deaths annually out of these strikes. This means, there is actually an 80 to 90% chance in surviving a lightning strike. So what does it feel like to be struck, and to survive a lightning strike? Well, let us first understand how strong a lightning strike is. The normal voltage supply of an average home or commercial building in the United States is about 120 volts, whereas factories or other greater facilities do range up to the hundreds or thousands, depending on their needs. But a raw lightning bolt basically carries up to about 300 million volts in just one strike. That is a million or more times stronger. Therefore, it is not exactly similar to the kinds of shock you would imagine experiencing from your daily household electricity. Now, lightning strike injuries can be often categorized into three categories: a direct hit, an indirect hit, and secondary injuries. A direct hit is almost always the deadliest, where the lightning strikes directly or just beside a person, causing enormous quantities of energy to pass through his or her body, quickly resulting in severe internal burns, organ damage, flesh and bones exploding, and nervous system damage. An indirect hit is when the lightning strikes at a nearby area with the current traveling through a certain distance on the ground, then discharging onto a person's legs and to his or her body, often at a lower charge, but still deadly. And then the secondary injuries, which are injuries relating to, but not directly from the strike. These include after-strike explosions, fire, tree-falling accidents, etc. So according to gathered experiences from struck victims, the first feelings of a lightning strike is often described as intense flashes of white and purple lights, followed by a loud deafening burst, and an excruciating pain that resembles an electric jolt that is a million times stronger than one would imagine from a regular electric shock. You would literally feel as if all your joints were dislocated, paralyzing your body while your heart starts to race as if it were to explode, somewhat like a severe heart attack. And in a direct hit, the high voltage could also cause a person to pass out completely or temporarily. And if they survive, some would wake up later with the feeling of extreme confusion. The feeling is as if your thoughts are all over the place, and you can't really focus on anything at all. Not to mention, your body is still feeling off in pain from all the severe injuries. According to experts, although a person would most likely always suffer burns from lightning strikes, the most severe injuries caused by lightning aren't exactly from thermal burns. This is due to the fact that the current from these strikes are too brief to heat up the tissues in one's body. Therefore, the most severe injuries are usually on a person's nerves and muscles, which could be directly damaged by the high voltage strike through a process called electroporation, producing holes in their cell membranes. But that being said, all these are usually just the beginning of a long-lasting nightmare that is about to unfold. As lightning usually never strikes a person the same way, struck victims won't really know exactly as to which areas of their body has been badly affected by the strike. These symptoms will gradually surface through all kinds of tests and observation as days crawl by. And as our bodies aren't all the same, different people might actually experience different symptoms from one another. A lot of these known effects might even be long-term and dreadful to bear. Some of the more common ones include headaches, fatigue, hearing loss, constant buzzing in ears, memory impairment, off and on numbness in certain areas, heart problems, muscle pains, reading and writing difficulties, and concentration problems. But what's interesting is also that there are a handful of struck survivors who actually claim to have gained certain psychic abilities, or have become more neurally sensitive towards their surroundings, allowing them to know and feel things others can't. Although it has yet to be studied, I believe there are things in this world that still remain beyond our human understandings. Now, let me share with you a clip of an actual struck victim sharing her story on her experiences, and the emotional roller coaster she has been on, having to deal with all the long-term effects that came with the strike.
I basically work as a game warden. I remember the day of the incident. I was standing literally just feet away from my truck, which had a 6-foot aluminum ladder at the back of it. There was also a tree next to me. I remember how quickly it happened. Just in a split second, it hit me, my truck, and the tree. The electronics on my truck were totally fried, and the tree barks flew right off where the lightning struck. I was also thrown off my feet and onto the ground. I totally lost conscious for a few seconds, couldn't see a thing. Then, I remember there were flashes of light and I regained my vision. I started moving my limbs, but I couldn't feel them. It was as if they were no longer a part of my body. My heart rate was erratic, and I could feel it was bad. I was later found and sent to the hospital where they did tests on me. I remember my CAT results coming back okay, but I continuously felt like my head was hurting, so I did a follow-up with the doctor. And it was later that they found a golf ball-sized wound in the back of my head. The recovery was a slow and unpleasant grind. I lost doing what I love, as I was no longer fit to carry a gun, and that was when my whole life started to change horrendously. I started to suffer from the barometric pressure around. My head would get heavy, and I started having problems concentrating whenever there's a storm coming. It even made me hate the news, just because it stresses me out to know that a storm might be coming, and that I wouldn't be able to get things done. The feeling is somewhat like an annoying vibration that goes on and on in your head. I'd often just rest my head, as it helps a little, but it just doesn't go away. Now, after a few years, I'm still not fully recovered. I had lost my ability to talk and walk right. I literally couldn't walk without swaying or falling. There was one point where I felt so frustrated that I just gave up and was reluctant to get out of bed for about half a year. Even trying to get dressed daily feels like a huge chore to me, as any larger body movement now will make me feel nauseous, causing me to throw up. Hence, I've been carefully trying to minimize my movements and only move when it's really necessary. I also constantly suffer from severe migraines and dizziness for long periods of time daily, and nothing helped. The feeling is just like being trapped in a moving elevator that stops abruptly every now and then. It is awful. Plus, my vision initially deteriorated for 6 consecutive months, and I had to get a new prescription from my doctor, which thankfully allowed me to regain my vision. The doctor had then also diagnosed some problems with my eyes and suggested certain treatments which could help, but my insurance never approved. It is tormenting. I'm still having trouble with my eyes. Every time I move my eyes quickly, I feel sick in my stomach. It has greatly affected my daily life, and I now can only drive on days where it isn't as bad. Moreover, I used to be pretty fast-paced in everything before the incident, but now it's just like I'm halfway into becoming a sloth. I talk slower, I walk slower, and I think slower. But my family and friends seem to be more positive in a way, telling me that I'm more normal speed now. To sum it up, it isn't really easy to cope. Imagine a person being used to one way their whole life, and then just having it messed up in an instant. It is a torture. But I'm also obviously aware that things could have been a lot worse, and that I could have been dead. Therefore, there's a part of me that's still thankful I've came this far, and that I'm still alive today. Many days, I do wonder if everything actually happens for a reason, and that I am where I'm supposed to be in life. But I'm still struggling to figure that out, and I hope I'll find the answer to it someday. Over the incident, I somehow also started to have a new respect for storms, and an understanding to the importance of staying safe. I just hope others wouldn't have to go through what I have gone through over the past years.
So you see, being struck by lightning can actually ruin a person's life. And what's dreadful is all the long-term effects that come with it. It takes a lot of will and strength to actually push through and continue living day by day. And all in all, although we can't control where a lightning will strike, there are certain precautions we can take in order to minimize the chances of it happening to us. During a lightning storm, avoid seeking shelter under an isolated tree. Avoid being at elevated areas such as hills, mountain ridges, or peaks. Try to stay indoors. Avoid going swimming. Avoid using landline telephones. And also avoid wearing or holding objects with metal, like fishing poles, golf clubs, AirPods, etc., as any metallic objects in contact with the skin may concentrate the lightning's energy, resulting in more serious injuries. So stay safe, my friends. And if you like the content, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe, as it'll greatly help us in growing our channel, allowing us to provide you with more constructive content in the future. See you next time.